Hey Utah students, I'm Mike Conley of the Utah Jazz. February is Black History Month. My teammates and coaches with the Jazz are happy to talk with you about the people and events that have inspired us. Let's learn about Black history heroes.
Well, Mike Conley, thank you for joining the conversation today as we pause to celebrate Black history. And what I'm going to ask you to do is share information on the event that you selected to talk about and why.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me first off. The event that I chose to speak on, I actually had a good amount of time in the city in which this event took place in Memphis, Tennessee. Back in the day, we all know Dr. Martin Luther King and his sacrifices that he made, but why he was in Memphis was something that a lot of people don't understand and don't really look into. And the reason why he was there was the Memphis sanitation workers were going on strike um, during that period. The wages and the treatment that they were getting, it wasn't fair and wasn't just. So Dr. Martin Luther King and all the people who followed him came down there to support and march in peaceful protest. And being basically from Memphis, I spent 12 years there. I got to go to the Civil Rights Museum there a few times, and there's a lot of great statues and audio books and videos and things like that that really explain the importance of what they were doing and what they were standing for. So I thought that was very important for me, especially going back to the bubble where we just came from in the playoffs. I chose to wear "I am a man" on the back of my jersey, which was one of the phrases they used in their protests as they walked the streets.
That is wonderful to bring that piece of history to real life experience and for you to visit that museum and to see some of the artifacts that was listed there in talking about I am a man and what that means to uh, um, what does that mean to you personally? I mean, you wore it on your jersey, so exactly share a little bit of what that means to you.
Well, it means equality to me. It means I am like you. You are my brother, I am your brother. You know, you are my sister, just like that. Like we are all one. We are a human race, not a color. Doesn't matter what ethnicity. I should be treated as equally as you are treated, and thus, I am a man just as you are. So that was kind of what I took from it personally, and really wanted to raise awareness towards it by putting that on the back of my jersey.
Well, I am sure those who saw that on the jersey probably went home and did a little research to see where that phrase come from and the significance that it has in the Black community. So when we talk about what that means and how Blacks navigate this space, what are your thoughts on the significance of recognizing the contributions of Blacks and African Americans in building our country? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's vital that we continue to educate and learn about our history, not just American history. American history is Black history, so I mean, like it's all one, and we cannot exclude one or the other. I mean, we learn about George Washington, we learn about Abraham Lincoln, we learn about our presidents and wars and different things like that. The Black history, like I said, is American history, and we are a big part of how our country got to where it is today. So you cannot exclude all of the great men and women who came before us who have sacrificed so much in times that were not easy, just to be able to be in positions that we are today and live in the world we are today. So I think that's how important it is. It's like it's all one, and we need to continue to educate and make sure people understand how we got here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It's definitely important that we continue to learn about all of our histories. And like you said, Black history is American history. We are speaking to students, elementary, junior high, and high school students. So, what would you like to share with students as it relates to embracing, learning, and understanding the rich and diverse history that we bring to our communities? And you kind of touched on that a little bit, but that continual education on every level. What would your takeaway be to students who are listening to this conversation?
Yeah, I would say truly embrace it. It opens your mind a lot. Just being able to learn so much about a culture or just Black history in general. Because I think that's the biggest thing for us as American citizens, as humans, is we don't take time to understand each other. We don't take time to educate. And at a young age, I think it's very important that you take the time and really lock in on lessons that you may get, or if there's a opportunity to ask questions, or don't be afraid to be that person to raise your hand, and because not everybody knows what's going on, not everybody has the answer. So no question's a bad question in this case, because even myself, I'm learning things about our history every day. So I would just encourage you guys to just take the time and take pride in it, and learn as much as you can.
Thank you, thank you. One of the things that I am a proponent of is that when I had the opportunity, Miss Carey invited me to have conversations with Utah Jazz players. I always go to my library book in my home to find out what's in my what's in my library that I am learning about a different culture and a different race and ethnicity and all of that. So when you're saying that we are continually learning, we are continually learning. And sometimes we just got to pick up a book and
Mhm.
begin that conversation. So when we're talking to our students, and like you're saying, continue to learn, thank you for emphasizing that you too are always learning as well. This is not just I am done with all of this. I am continuing to learn as well. So I appreciate you sharing that with the students, that we're all on this path with this. Now listen, Mike, I appreciate you sharing the event that made an impact on you, and knowing that, like you say, Black history is American history, and that we are stronger together in all of this. So, any parting words you want to share with the youth who are listening, or to adults who are listening, as the importance of continuing to learn about all that we contribute to this community?
Yeah, I would just say at this point, in the state that we've been in, I mean, just please be strong for one another. I think everybody needs each other more than ever. More love than hate. Be patient, be kind, be able to listen before we speak. I think that's the biggest thing. We tend to just act and not know what we're acting on. Just be able to educate yourself as much as you can, and really, try to pull us all together in a time where we all need each other most.
Oh, that is a powerful ending message. Mike Conley, thank you so very much for sharing your time with us and for sharing this event and encouraging us to love more. We are
Thank you.
definitely stronger together. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So we have Derrick Favors here today from the Utah Jazz, and we want to welcome and thank you for joining the conversation today as we pause to celebrate Black History Month. And so, Derrick, the question that I have for you is, please share information on the person you selected to talk about and why.
I picked John Lewis. Reasons why: I'm from Atlanta. He's from Atlanta. He did a lot of great things. He recently passed away, and that was a sort of a big thing in the community for us. And I mean, just all the things he's done in his lifetime to make a positive impact in the African American community, and also in the country as well. I mean, he did a lot of great things, like from marching with Martin Luther King, winning numerous awards. He's just a great role model, a great person who thought about everybody else, who thought about uplifting everyone, and no, he was one of my heroes.
So when we talk about good trouble, necessary trouble, one of the
Uh-huh.
things that Representative Lewis talked about was you're never too young to make a difference. And because we're talking to students, elementary, junior high, and high school students, what can you say to them that their age does not make a difference as it relates to Representative Lewis is getting into trouble when he marched with Dr. King? What does that look like?
I mean, that's the right thing to say. You're never too young, never too old to, make a difference, no matter what it is. And with him marching with Martin Luther King and getting himself in necessary trouble, I think that says that, sometimes you have to do things to start a movement. It might be the right thing, but in other people's eyes, it might be the wrong thing, if that makes sense. And pretty much just standing up for what you believe in, standing up for what's right, and just having the courage to do something like that. And I think that's what he meant by, don't be afraid to get into necessary trouble.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on what good trouble, necessary trouble looks like at any age with that. So Derrick, let's just do a deeper dive then. What are your thoughts on the significance of recognizing the contributions of Blacks and African Americans in building the country we call the United States?
Yeah, I think we should recognize the achievements and contributions that everybody makes. With the African American community, it was a lot of people done a lot of great things, not just Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. It's a lot of great African Americans throughout the years who achieved a lot, who created, invented things, who started movements, who in politics, everything. So I think it's important that, whichever age group, young, old, or whatever, we just kind of look back and appreciate those contributions that they made, sacrifices that they made.
Excellent. Thank you. And they definitely were sacrifices. One of the things that whenever I'm having conversations with individuals about these topics, I go into my home library and I try to see what books I have. So, of course, I have John Lewis's. I've got John Lewis's books. He was in Utah a few years ago. And of course, whenever someone comes into the state of his notoriety, you go and you be in that space. So I do have two of autograph books by Mr. John Lewis. So when you think about this, when you know that you are talking to students and you want to recognize that this is continuing education, what would you like to share with students as it relates to embracing and learning and understanding the rich and diverse history that we all bring to our communities? Continuing education.
You're right. You said it. Just continue to educate yourself, learn about the history of not only your race or your people, but other races and other people also. It's been a lot of, like I said before, it's been a lot of great people throughout history that did certain things that uplifted the country, uplifted humanity. John Lewis being one of them. And it's just important just continue to educate yourself and just learn about these things, because you never know when a situation might happen and you might need something to look back on to see how this person or whatever dealt with it. And it's very important. I just want to preach that. Just continue to educate yourself on it.
That is so important, definitely, as we're talking to students who are going to go out and be leaders in the future in our community and setting examples as to what it looks like. So when we, as we are wrapping up this right now, we know that Black history is American history. We absolutely know that. And we also know that we are all in this together and that we are stronger together. So Derrick, thank you for choosing to talk about your hero, Representative John Robert Lewis, and sharing it with students in the state of Utah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And like you said, we are stronger together. So I just want to say it again, try to educate yourself on everyone, try to educate yourself on different races, and just look into it. Don't turn a blind eye to it. Just look into it, educate yourself, and just learn the history.
Well, thank you so very much for sharing your perspective. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Derrick. George, I am so excited that you are having this conversation And I am just pleased to be part of engaging in conversation with Black History Month and with the Utah Jazz. So listen, you has chosen Mrs. Rosa Park. And listen, I went to my library, my home library, and I got my book, my autographed book. So could you
There
please?
she is.
There she is. Mrs. Rosa Parks was in Salt Lake City back in the early 90s. So I got the opportunity to cross paths with her. But if you could just please share information on why you selected to talk about Mrs. Rosa Parks.
I admire Rosa Parks' strength ever since I heard her story. Not only as a woman, but as a Black woman, standing up for what was right and what she believed in and willing to lose it all. That's the ultimate sacrifice. And I think it shows her character and the type of person that she is, that she was willing to give it all up to make sure that equality was something that was going to be seen through. And we talk about everything that's going on and, women having to continuously fight to have equal opportunity and being African American. I think it really shows the ultimate strength that, she stood up for what was right back in 1955. And it kind of, I don't want to say was the start, but, she was like a pioneer in the movement of equality.
Yes, that is so true. When you think about Mrs. Parks, like you said, what she could possibly give up during that time, being arrested, being taken off the bus, and then helping to create the civil rights movement because she chose not to give up her seat. So when you think about that strength, what are your thoughts on the significance and the recognition of the contributions of Blacks and African Americans in building this country that we call home?
I think it's extremely important. I think the sacrifice that has gone in, not only to African American lives to make this country a better place, but, to let their culture be heard. And I think it's, not right that, other ethnicities can pick and choose when it's okay, when they want to accept Black culture. Either you're going to accept it fully or, you're going to be told that that's wrong. And I think, in the basketball world, we've tried to do a good job of letting us know that, we're more than just athletes. We are humans also. So I think, going back to Rosa Parks, being okay with speaking out and telling someone right from wrong, because I think we've been silent for too long, far too long. And I think the contributions that, Rosa Parks, had made, to equality, Martin Luther King, E.D. Nixon, all those people have sacrificed a whole lot, even their lives, to give the generation after them a better life. And I think that's what it's all about.
Well, that is absolutely what it's all about. So, we are having this conversation with elementary, junior high, and high school students. If you could leave this one parting message to them as it relates to embracing and learning and understanding the rich and diverse culture and histories that we share in our communities, what would your parting words be to these students who are listening to you?
The biggest thing for me is, Black culture is very rich and full of liveliness, love, and happiness. People may have one persona of that, but that's not exactly true. And I think you have to look at things not just at face value, but for what they are, more for what they are inside. And I kind of try to live my life where, there may be differences in our lives. I may not look the same as you. I may not have the same ethnicity as you, but I can learn to respect the differences and love the similarities. And I think that's one thing that I wish that, everybody could carry on is we may not look the same, we may not talk the same, but we're more similar than you think. And the things that we are different, and I can respect that we are different in those things, but also love the similarities that we have together.
That is a very powerful message to our students who are listening to you. And when we sum this all up, we are stronger together. So George, thank you so very much for sharing your hero, Mrs. Rosa Parks. And hopefully what has been said, people will take to heart and our students would lead out with change. So thank you so very much.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
And welcome, Coach Demps, to this conversation we were having with Black history and why it's important. And the person that you chose to talk about today is the former president of the United States, Barack Obama. So what we would like for you to do is just share why you selected him and tell a little bit about why.
Well, when I first heard of Barack Obama, my wife asked me to go to a speech that he was having when he decided to run for president of the United States. And I remember it was a rainy day in Austin, Texas, and we stood outside in the rain. And I remember after listening to him speak, the inspiration that he gave me, the hope, the leadership, the integrity, the character. And then he shared his vision of how he believed our world should be. And from that moment on, I became one of his biggest fans.
Excellent, excellent. Now, when we talk about heroes, we usually kind of go back in the past of what heroes are in the Black history movement or even in our civil rights movement. But he is current right now. How important is that?
Well, I think it's huge because, he's a person that, coming from a humble background, he was raised by his mother in Hawaii, and his ability to communicate with people and his understanding of both sides. One of the big things that was huge to me was when Senator John McCain asked Barack Obama to speak at his funeral. And these were two men with completely different views. And you later learned how they would talk and discuss that someone can be your adversary or not agree with how you feel, and you might agree to disagree, but how can you come together and work together and still try to find a better good?
That is so important. And thank you for highlighting that. We are talking to elementary age students during this conversation on Black history. So what would you like to share with students as it relates to embracing and learning and understanding the rich and diverse histories that we bring to our communities?
We're all different. So many of us come from different backgrounds, and understanding people's backgrounds, understanding people's views. And like I said, you might not agree with everyone, but understanding where they're coming from and then seeing if you can find a common ground. And it could be as important as being in the classroom, as in being in the workplace, being at home, being in society. But just trying to understand that we are different, understanding those differences, and then trying to figure out how we can work together.
Excellent. I have spoken with a few of the other jazz players, and what I have said to them is that it's always continuing education. And when Ms. Carey said that you were going to be speaking about President Barack Obama, of course, I went to my home library and I pulled up this book, and then I pulled up this book. And of course, I pulled up the latest book on Barack Obama. And it's continuous education. So knowing that, absolutely knowing that, the message that you shared with students about how it's important to learn and cross across lines and everyone bring their own things together, we are definitely stronger together. And I know that is what Utah Jazz also believes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to piggyback on what you were just saying is one thing I think is just very, very important is continuous learning, and not only learning in the classroom, but learning about society and learning about different people. And I think the more we can learn about each other, the more we can get a better understanding of where we want to go and how we can live together. And I just felt like with Barack Obama, just watching him as a leader, watching him as a person with his character, his integrity. I watched him as a father, as a husband. I mean, there's so many people that, just how he treats Michelle, how he treats his children, how he shows kindness to everyone. It's just remarkable. And when we talk about a role model, a person that he basically gives you that belief that you can do anything. You know what I mean? You can really do whatever you set your mind to, because who would ever thought that this young man was able to come and be the leader of our country?
That is so true, and wonderful, wonderful parting words for our students to take to heart, that you can be anything that you want to be once you set your mind to that.
And
And
I would also just like to say also is like, to all young people, is like, it's never too early to start. And you don't have to understand or know what you want to be today, but start having a plan. And I always believe in, if you plan your work and then work your plan and figure out where you can become more independent, where you can start to develop into an individual, where you can rely less on your parents and more on yourself. And how can you grow to become a leader and be a productive part of society? Because it's all of our responsibilities.
you are so true. That is so heartfelt in regards to, it's never too early to start being a leader and working your plan and creating what your destiny is going to be. Um, Coach Demps, thank you for sharing your thoughts today on former President Barack Obama and the message that you are sending to our youth on Black history, which is American history, and that we are all stronger together. So thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me.